of tedong or buffalo that is cooked at the closing of the Maknene ritual should not be called buffalo meat at all, but rather called parilapu, which means filled rice plant. The merry Maknene ritual comes to an end. In the last procession, the ritual is ended with the Sisemba, a tradition in the form of folk game. The Sisemba is held outdoors or in the field. Sisemba is a fighting game. It is very crowded, especially when the adrenaline of the participants can no longer be held back. At this moment, Toraja people let go of all their excitement. To reduce the risk of injury or death to Sisemba participants, there is always a jury who acts as a bouncer if the situation is very dangerous for Sisemba participants. Participants who take part in the Sisemba game must pair up with two people who must hold on to each other. Opponents who have fallen or have fallen may not be attacked. Nobody should hold any grudges after the game is over. Maknene is not only about cleaning and changing the body's clothes or moving the body to another place. This tradition is also interpreted as a way of respecting and redeeming the longing of ancestors. Maknene is also a momentum for the whole family to gather a moment to stay in touch between family members. Finally, everything comes to an end. The whole series of a very old and rare ancient Maknene ritual that only exists in Toraja. A tradition that is held persistently by more than 1 million people in Toraja for centuries. A tradition about longing for and remembering the loved ones who have died. Everyone has their way, and Toraja people do it in their unique way. Part of the Toraja society today still want to be preserved, that when they die, they want their children and grandchildren to see and remember them the way they are doing today to their ancestors. Maknene will always exist and carried out here in Toraja.
Over 17,000 islands stretching between two oceans. Studded with more active volcanoes than anywhere else. Dazzling natural beauty and biologic diversity. Discover Indonesia's eco-adventure. Home to one of the new 7 wonders in nature. An extensive network of national parks and nature preserves, protecting its ecology and biodiversity. Boasting fascinating natural diversity and tropical climate all year round. Ecotourism in Indonesia offers a wide range of exciting outdoor recreation. Exploring nature in unimaginable ways. Adventurous journeys through untamed wilderness. A multitude of opportunities to interact with wildlife in numerous national parks across the country. Home to 28,000 kinds of flowering plants and 300,000 wildlife species. Four of the parks have been declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. 8 are listed as biosphere reserves. Keeping balance between preservation and development. The seascape scenery is as stunningly diverse as the landscape. Unique eco-friendly resorts, providing thrilling excitement and environmental sustainability. The epicenter of marine biodiversity. More than 600 species of coral, over 3,000 fish species. The natural wonders of Indonesia. Nature and ecotourism. Wonderful Indonesia.
Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency announced the death toll from the Cianjur earthquake reached 200. Hello and welcome to TVRI World's News Watch, airing live with news from Indonesia and all around the world. I'm Narendra Bawaka as we begin our first report from Cianjur. Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency announced the death toll from the Cianjur earthquake reached 271 as of Wednesday, November 23rd. Rescue workers are continuously working to try to search and save victims following the 5.6 magnitude earthquake, which struck Cianjur area on Monday, November 21st. Head of the National Disaster Mitigation Agency, or BNPB, Suharyanto, said more than 1,000 joint personnel from the agency, search and rescue, military and police, have been deployed in the rescue and evacuation efforts. Suharyanto explained as of Wednesday afternoon, November 23rd, a total of 271 casualties have been identified. Meanwhile, temporary data show that the quake has caused 2,043 people injured and 61,908 others are forced to take shelters, while more than 56,000 houses damaged. The shallow earthquake has also affected 31 schools, 124 worship houses, 3 health facilities, and 13 office buildings. A 5.6 magnitude earthquake that struck Cianjur on Monday forced at least 13,000 people from their homes and into evacuation camps.
So far, 271 people have been confirmed killed in the devastating earthquake, while more than 150 are still missing. And the death toll is expected to rise as rescuers continue to search the rubble. What started out as an ordinary Monday turned chaotic for Siti Hamidah and her family. As the earthquake hit Cianjur, her newly renovated home was completely destroyed.
Rumah saya, rumah kakak saya semua hancur, yang ada di kampung sana. Semuanya hancur, rumah tetangga saya juga hancur. Jadi rumah tetangga hancur, nimpah ke rumah saya, jadi pada hancur semuanya. Terus juga semuanya alhamdulillah selamat.
Rescuers are still optimistic that they can find more survivors. Meantime, hospitals in Cianjur are overwhelmed by the number of patients in need of help. Hundreds are injured and many are in critical condition.
Kalau saya melihat pada saat saya datang,
the hospitals are overcrowded, so we need to intervene and create this makeshift hospital. Otherwise, there will be many patients that will be neglected. Now, we're trying to tend to as many as we can.
Bukan terbengkalai ya, tetapi tertangani dengan.
President Joko Widodo also said the government will help to rebuild the hundreds of homes that were destroyed. To up their search and rescue process, the Search and Rescue Agency have sent out helicopters to monitor these vulnerable areas in an effort to find signs of life.
Six-year-old boy Aska rescued from the rubble on the third day of searching after the devastating earthquake in Cianjur.
The fire brigade team pulled Aska from the rubble in a conscious condition on the third day of the search for around 40 missing people in the earthquake-stricken city of Cianjur, West Java. The head of Disaster Mitigation Agency, Suharyanto, said that the boy was found next to his dead grandmother.
Atas nama Azka, laki-laki umur 6 tahun. Ditemukan di sebelah neneknya yang neneknya sudah meninggal dunia.
The earthquake, with a magnitude of 5.6 on the Richter scale, has killed 271 people and injured up to 1,000 people, also caused huge damage. The Disaster Mitigation Agency said it has sent around 6,000 rescuers carrying heavy equipment to clear up the landslide caused by the disaster. On Wednesday, there had been 170 aftershocks, including one measuring 3.9 on the Richter scale.
While others grieve and mourn following the deadly quake in West Java, Indonesia, Solihin was overjoyed at the birth of his son, which took place in an evacuation tent on November 23rd.
Baby boy was delivered after his mother, Rohmat Kartini, experienced contractions during the 5.6 earthquake that shook the town of Cianjur. Kartini was immediately evacuated to a medic tent from her ruined house. Her delivery was hindered by arduous road access wrecked by both quake and subsequent landslide. According to obstetrician Monica Wulandari,
I have a number of questions to you. Why is the 5.6 magnitude earthquake claimed 271 lives as of the latest data and caused massive destruction in Cianjur Regency, West Java? I mean, it's not exactly as powerful as the last one back in 2019 in Banten with 6.9 magnitude caused 8 deaths. And would you mind explaining to us the factors that made this one severe destructive?
All right, there are several reasons why this recent earthquake result in more massive destruction compared to earlier in Banten, which has higher magnitude but less victims, less destruction. The first is related to the position of the epicenter. The epicenter of this earthquake is shallow. It is only about 10 up to 11 kilometers, which then result in stronger shock or shaking at the surface due to a quite close distance between the hypocenter. Yeah, so the hypocenter is shallow, which is about 10 up to 11 kilometer. Then result in a stronger or higher intensity of the ground shaking. And the second, the site conditions, such as the soil conditions in this area, is the soft or loose soil, which is saturated with the rain precipitation. So the soft soil or the low density of soil, the loose soil with a high saturation, result in amplification of the ground shaking. So it's not only about the distance is closer, but also the amplification creates stronger shaking. Then all of those result in more massive destruction, yeah, because the stronger shaking, so it results in more massive destruction. Moreover, the structure of the houses is not the resistant structure for the earthquake. So also it is related to the condition of the houses is not the houses which is prepared for the earthquake resistance. So that's all the reason why this recent earthquake is quite massive in the destruction as well as in the numbers of victims. The number of victims is high because of more collapse of the houses. So that's all.
Right, Ibu Dwi Korita. I mean, today, as of today, aftershocks is still occurring in Cianjur, West Java province. And how do you see it as aftershocks is still occurring until today?
Right, until today is more than 170 something, yes, more than 170 aftershocks. But the trend of the aftershocks is the magnitude is less and less, so weaker aftershocks. And the frequency or the numbers of occurrence is also less and less. So we expect, based on our analysis, this may be ended within 4 up to 7 days. So that's our expectation based on our temporary analysis. Inshallah, it's like that.
So the residents should not worry anymore about the aftershocks that might be occur until today, Ibu Dwi Korita. And last question, Ibu Dwi Korita, do you have any advices in regards of any possibilities of the disaster that might occur in the future, in particular the mitigation steps that should be taken?
Right. As I mentioned earlier, that the number of aftershocks is less and less, the magnitude is less and less. But still must be aware, don't go back to the house which has been cracked or it's not stable anymore. Yeah, so just stay in the stable area. Don't enter to the building which has been, the roof has fall down, the wall has cracked. Yeah, don't go back. And again, also don't be too close to the slopes, which is very vulnerable to collapse or to slide down, because the rain intensity is getting higher and higher, and that will be sensitive to result in the landslides. So the collateral disaster may occur during this rainy season, especially in December. That will be the peak of the rainy seasons, December, January. So it means the rain intensity is higher, and this may result in more landslides because of the slopes has been vulnerable after being shaken by the earthquake, and also combined with the rain precipitation. And this also result in the debris floods or banjir bandang, debris slides, debris floods. Yeah, so please be aware with the landslides and debris floods. So please be away from the slope or from the river bank. Yeah, don't be inside the valley during the rain. Yeah, during or soon after the rain comes. So be away from that area. That's all.
Right. Thank you so much, Ibu Dwi Korita Karnawati, as the head of BMKG of Indonesia. Thank you so much for joining us today on TVRI World. And that concludes my interview with the head of BMKG, Ibu Dwi Korita Karnawati. Back to you now at the studio.
Thank you so much, Zulhafiz Tadore, for the updates, and also Ibu Dwi. Our next update in Newswatch is a funeral was held on Wednesday for a victim of a deadly earthquake that struck Indonesia as driving rain disrupted the ceremony.
The body of 23-year-old Yuli Rohaini was buried by family members and relatives at a local cemetery. A relative said she was crushed while she was trying to save herself and the neighbor.
Lagi menggoreng pisang, katanya suruhnya begitu, ya. Jadi anak tersebut emang udah kejadian di sana, pasti mau lari keluar, ya. Ada katanya dia lagi ngobrol sama tetangganya gitu, tetangga sebelah. Jadi ketika ada bencana dia mau keluar, ternyata begitulah kejadiannya.
Officials on Wednesday said the death toll had risen to at least 271, warning that the time was running out for anyone trapped in rubble. Recovery efforts on Wednesday focused on Chuganang, another hard-hit district where at least one village is believed to have been buried under a landslide.
Drone footage showed collapsed homes and earthquake damage as the number of deaths from a 5.6 magnitude earthquake rose to more than 271. Hundreds of people have been injured and 22,000 houses have been damaged in the tremor which hit West Java province on Monday, November 21st. The most substantial damage was seen in the town of Cianjur, about 75 kilometers southeast of the capital, Jakarta. At least one village has been buried under a landslide. Officials were still working to determine the full extent of the damage caused by the quake. President Joko Widodo has promised to provide assistance for the damage suffered by the community due to the deadly earthquake during his visit on Tuesday, November 22nd. The Indonesian National Police commits to increasing medical personnel to help hospitals in Cianjur Regency that were affected by the earthquake.
Home Affairs Minister Tito Karnavian called on all local governments in Indonesia to give grants to Cianjur district in West Java province to help rebuilding process and lend a hand to the quake victims. The earthquake on Monday caused plenty of fatalities and devastated many buildings and infrastructure. The Cianjur Regency only has 5 billion rupiah for unexpected expenditure or BTT fund, while the West Java provincial government only has around 20 billion rupiah remaining. Even when combined, the amount would not suffice to cover the expenditure for post-quake recovery, according to Minister Tito. In contrast, out of 12 trillion rupiah of BTT funds from all of Indonesia's 548 local governments, less than 3 trillion rupiah had been used so far, leaving plenty of elbow room for other local governments to chip in for Cianjur, said Minister Tito. The minister added that regional governments must work hand in hand in handling major disasters such as the Cianjur earthquake.
The Indonesian National Police commits to increasing medical personnel to help hospitals in Cianjur Regency that were affected by the earthquake.
Indonesian Police Chief General Listio Sigit Prabowo urged police medical and health centers to increase the number of medical personnel being deployed to Cianjur to help victims who suffered broken bones following a 5.6 magnitude earthquake on Monday. In addition, Sigit said that he had been in coordination with the Bayangkara Cianjur Hospital and a number of other hospitals that required additional healthcare personnel. General Sigit promised to send health personnel to cover the shortage. Meanwhile, both the police and the disaster victim identification team are still conducting search efforts for missing victims by involving the K9 sniffer dog team in areas that are difficult to traverse due to collapsed buildings.
The Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency, or BMKG, said that the trend of the aftershocks in Cianjur earthquake continued to fade away on November 22nd, but the agency warned people to remain alert over a possible landslide and floods.
A senior official at the Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency, or BMKG, Daryono, said that the trend of the aftershocks continued to wane. On November 2022 noon, the agency recorded 131 aftershocks tremors measured between 4.2 magnitude to 1.2 magnitude. Daryono said that the agency continued to monitor the aftershock activity once every 6 hours. It was reported that there were 62 aftershock tremors in the first 6-hour period and 39 tremors in the second 6-hour period, and 17 tremors in the third period and 4 tremors in the last 6-hour period. The Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency, or BMKG, warned people living in and around Cianjur area to remain alert over a possible landslide and floods post the 5.6 magnitude earthquake that hit Cianjur. The head of the agency, Dwi Korita Karnawati, warned the people living on the hills and on the slope of the mountain and on the bank of rivers in Cianjur area to remain alert over the possible landslide and floods. BMKG's Dwi Korita said that people living on the slope of a mountain are at high risk now, and it is aggravated by the high intensity of monsoon rain that may cause massive floods and landslides.
The evacuation of a house that collapsed in the village of Jambu Dipa, Warung Kondang sub-district Cianjur continues. So far, only one victim has not been found. The search team and residents are still working together to remove the ruins of a 3-story house that collapsed during the earthquake. According to witnesses, 8 people survived when the house began to collapse due to the earthquake. The 8 people who were injured and 1 victim is still missing until the 3rd day of the search. The search team, assisted by residents, was able to locate the victim's motorcycle among the ruins of the building. The search team kept digging and cutting up large pieces of debris thought to have struck and buried the victim under. The 5.6 magnitude earthquake that shook the Cianjur district killed 268 people, injured hundreds more, and damaged thousands of houses and buildings. Various parties, including the Indonesian Navy, have been involved in efforts to evacuate and assist victims of the 5.6 magnitude earthquake in Cianjur.
Dozens of soldiers from the Navy's Quick Reaction Force Unit for Disaster Management were deployed in the operation to search and evacuate victims and build facilities and infrastructure at the earthquake disaster site in Cianjur, West Java. Disaster management operations were prioritized over at earthquake-affected villages, which received limited number of assistance, such as the Garung village in Kondangwarung subdistrict. Navy soldiers assisted in the evacuation of residents who wished to flee to a safer location. The earthquake that destroyed their homes has left the residents deeply traumatized, with aftershocks still reoccurring up until now. Sound up, refugees.
The Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency, or BMKG, said that Indonesia was hit by major earthquakes measured 6 magnitude and 7.8 magnitude in the past 5 years. Below are the list. Back on TVRI World's News Watch, an update from G20. Indonesia's Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy projects that the 2022 target of 3.6 million foreign tourist arrivals in the country can be achieved in early December. The recent G20 summit in Bali has reportedly boosted some 20,000 local and international visitors to Bali. Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno said that the G20 Leaders Summit held in Bali last week has benefit to tourism sector in the island. He said hotels in Bali see up to 70% of occupancy rates, a level which is projected to stay until the end of November. He added the G20 summit has contributed some 1.7 trillion rupiah, or approximately $533 million to the national economy and absorbed about 33,000 workforces. Data from the ministry show that number of domestic and international tourist arrivals during the summit activities and meetings in Bali surpassed 20,000, with direct spending stood at about $575 million. Small and medium-scale enterprises, or SMEs, books total transactions of about 5.32 billion rupiah, or about $360,000 during trade exhibitions held as sideline events during the G20 Leaders Summit in Nusa Dua, Bali recently.
Deputy for the field of SMEs at the Ministry of Cooperatives and Small and Medium-Scale Enterprises, Hanung Harimba Rahman, said in Jakarta on Wednesday that the transaction recorded by SMEs during the Futures SME Village exhibition held on November 10th to 19th, 2022 as part of side events of the G20 summit were quite encouraging. Hanu explained the total transaction booked from the Future SME Village events reached a total of 5.32 billion rupiah. The event included an exhibition held by the ministry, Go Festival, and mini showcases at delegates' hotels. On the other hand, the total revenues from the sales of 20 official brands for G20 merchandise is currently still being calculated. The most popular products bought by the delegates were accessories, fashion products, wellness, and craft. Meanwhile, buyers who shopped were mostly delegates from Russia, South Africa, Argentina, India, the United States, and Australia. In addition, Rahman explained during the event that there was a potential contract on consignment for the Golden Jawa cigar brand worth 1 billion rupiah.
Goals by Ritsu Doan and Takuma Asano gave Japan an incredible 2-1 comeback victory over Germany in the World Cup on November 23rd. The four-time champions appeared to be on their way to victory after an Ilkay Gundogan penalty, but they paid a high price for missed opportunities. Germany appeared to be in complete control of the group and equalized the 75th minute before Asano showed great control and smashed down the and struggled to gain foothold for the majority of the game. Blue Samurai pull off second massive upset at Qatar 2022 with a 2-1 win over Germany, and supporters can't quite believe it.
Japanese fans in Tokyo were stunned on November 23rd when their team pulled off